What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review for you X-Men 97 Episode 7, Bright Eyes. Well, I just finished this episode, and the first thing I want to say is that I'm sure Rob from Comics Explained is very happy right now because um, after the Genosha massacre that we watched, in episode 5, there was two choices that he threw up about who it could have been. One was Cassandra Nova, and one was Bastion. We saw Bastion in this episode, and I was like, wow, I never thought we would get that in an X-Men show. Spoiler alert, OZT, Operation Zero Tolerance. Oh, it's a problem. It's a problem, baby. It is a problem. I remember reading that story and finding out who Bastion was and how these Sentinels, these Prime Sentinels, were working. Woo! That's some sleeper agent stuff for your butt. So, this episode starts off with the funeral of one Remy LeBeau, better known as Gambit. Remember it. And you see how the X-Men deal with things as a family. For the most part, people forget that more than being a team, the X-Men are family. Mutants are family. The X-Men more than most. So when one of them dies, it is a loss to all of them. It's like losing a brother or a sister. For real. So seeing them go through this process of grieving and burying Remy, and seeing members of the Thieves and Assassins guilds there. I believe Belladonna and Gambit's father, I'm forgetting his first name, LeBeau, was actually there too. Was good. It shows that the stakes that X-Men are fighting for are there. They're real stakes that people are affected outside of just a group of people that they go off into battle with. And I like that Kurt was there to give, some words and eulogize Gambit a little bit before they put him in the ground. Now, I will still say, I don't believe Gambit's dead because we looked it up on the hero's journey about the spirit of a mutant that lives inside of Gambit that wouldn't let him die and teleports him and stuff like that, right? So I believe she is going to be revealed. Since they reveal Bastion, they might as well reveal her too, because this episode saw Rogue on a tear about trying to find Bolivar Trask and Henry Peter Gyrick about her, dead Cajun. She was not playing nice. Now, the cameos in this show are always fun. If you're paying attention really quick, you could see stuff like Rogue showing up to the military base and talking to a general, and it's General Ross. So I'm like, well, that's cool. That's a cool little nod. That kind of ties the whole Marvel universe together, which Marvel fans in general have been waiting on to have the X-Men characters back in the fold so we can tie all of these characters together and have them interacting across shows when you know that these characters, well, maybe Ross only shows up mostly in Incredible Hulk books, but here he is in an X-Men story. That's the fun of Marvel, running into all these other ancillary characters when they get all jumbled up. Now, how Rogue is dealing with her grief is searching for Gyrick, but she's really just angry. That's all it is. She really just wants a reason to cut loose on people. And given the mutant that it is, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Rogue has enough strength at her disposal to cause all kind of havoc. She does. The good thing is that she's usually nice. Not so much this time. Now, through this, you also get some of the other mutants, Wolverine and Cyclops and whatnot, going back to Genosha to try to help look for more survivors. Now, this comes in the wake of Cyclops having a conversation with the president, how the president wants him to, call off the search, that there's no more people to be found, and Cyclops doesn't want to do it. And what you hear is Cyclops really getting a harder edge to him, that he's giving shit to the president as well, which is fine. I don't mind them taking Cyclops down this road where he starts to get really disillusioned with Xavier's dream and take some more militant stance on it about mutants and his people, those being mutants. That for a moment in the comics, Cyclops was that dude. He was old school Magneto. Like, damn the dream. This is what I'm going to do. So I like that they're moving him kind of in that direction, because you keep seeing the cracks. He's dealing with a lot in a short amount of time. And I'm not saying he's going to crack, but he's going to come to some realizations and some changes in his behavior about this whole thing with this humans and mutant stuff. It's just pushing him in that direction. So I'm up for it. Being in Genosha, the team and himself get to actually see the devastation for themselves with their own eyes and try to help find extra survivors. Now, there is a good moment here with Cyclops and Jean where he apologizes for some things, where their relationship has been weird in a sense since the whole Madeline and Jean thing came out, which I think is more, it's interesting, but it's still kind of silly, because my belief is Jean being mad at him is silly. He didn't know, he thought it was Jean. So if he got feelings for Madeline, he got feelings for Madeline. It's just what it is. There's nothing he can actually do about that. It's nothing he could have known. Just what it is. So he's always going to have some kind of feelings for Madeline. Just get over it, Jean. You weren't there, and she apparently is identical to you in every way. So he didn't know the difference. He didn't feel it. So it's not necessarily his fault. He's dealing with the fallout of it. So in my mind, he loved both of them. It's just what it is. But searching through this rubble, they do come upon a telepathic signature, and they find a survivor. And when they pull out the survivor is Emma Frost in her diamond form. Now, this is where I think the show made a little bit of a faux pas, because if I remember correctly, while Emma is in her diamond form, which is a secondary mutation, right? It did develop in this original E for Extinction story, right? But I don't think she has access to her telepathy when she's in her diamond form. So Jean getting a telepathic message or anything like that, I don't think she would have found Emma like that. I mean, I imagine her being in her diamond form like Luke Skywalker in Legends stories, being able to hide himself in the Force and make himself really small, or Jason Solo being able to make himself completely invisible in the Force. When she's in her diamond form, she is invisible as far as I would believe, telepathy wise. She can't project any telepathy. I don't think you can find her. But that's just me and how I think about the stuff and how it works. But needless to say, you get Emma back, but you also get the introduction of secondary mutations, which I thought were cool. It was a cool add-in to mutants that have been running around for, good 40 years or so, to actually develop something else to give some of these characters a second level of edge, put it that way. Because one of my favorite ones was Angel's secondary mutation, where his blood could heal people like a literal fucking angel. Weird. But it was cool to me. Now, the rest of the story goes in with the X-Men getting a message from Trask telling them where he is and to come to Madripoor. And they set off on their mission to find him in Madripoor. At the same time, Rogue is, I don't know, somewhere snowy. I couldn't remember where it was. But on her search after finding Gyrick, she ends up in some northern region running upon Captain America. Now, this could seem like it was a really cool thing that Rogue met Captain America. That's cool, but I don't see what the point of it was outside of setting up a possible Avengers versus X-Men kind of season, which would be awesome. I don't see the point in them being there. I mean, the conversation they had was a little pointed, and Rogue did give him a little bit like, what you gonna do about it? Because he is operating still for the government in a sense, and she's more concerned about what's going on with mutants, but he can't really do anything about that. So she chucks his shield off for some reason, which I thought was kind of silly, and flies off onto the next spot where she can possibly find Trask. Now, somehow, Rogue and the X-Men end up in the same spot, even though the X-Men were going to Madripoor, and if I remember correctly, Rogue was going to Mexico. I don't know how that works, but either way, the team ends up being together, and you get a moment with Rogue and Nightcrawler where he's comforting her, and you're getting the reveal that they are, adopted brother and sister, which is true for the comics. Mystique is Nightcrawler's mother. Mystique, for a time, took care of Rogue, treated her like her daughter. She called her mother. They're technically family, which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with that. And I'm fine with Kurt being there to actually help her grieve a little bit more and actually let it out, as opposed to just throwing tanks and stuff like that around. Now, once they get into this Madripoor office in this secret base, you're finally let in on some of the stuff that's been going on. Now, I had a question while I was watching this on how, on one side, you had the machinations of Sinister that Rogue was aware of, but on the other side, you had the X-Men looking for Trask or whatnot, right? And I was wondering how these two things were connecting together. Well, once you get to this base, you find out how they connected together. Trask is here. He's given the X-Men information and come to this place. And while he doesn't know any more information and wants to kill himself, Rogue stops him. But after he is admittedly unable to give them any more information, Rogue drops him and lets him fall to his death. Now, I don't remember anybody ever saying that X-Men don't kill. I mean, as far as I know, they got one of the most lethal mutants on the planet, part of the team. One of the core members of the team. Because Wolverine has killed a hell of a lot of people. Just saying. And hand ninjas count for this one. Okay, so Wolverine has killed a lot of people. A lot. Now, I don't remember anybody saying that X-Men don't kill, but they usually try to save folks. So when she let him go, I was kind of shocked. Like, oh, damn, she let that motherfucker go, didn't she? But I wasn't overly shocked, okay? Like, yeah, he did fall to his death. Damn, they killed him. Okay. Now, this part is where the episode picked up a little bit more, where while Rogue is giving her, Deep Blue Sea speech about why she should do it and what should happen, she gets lambasted by a blast. And you hear this robotic voice saying mutant neutralize. And what you see next is Bolivar Trask flying and turning into a Prime Sentinel. Now, Prime Sentinel is a human cybernetic kind of deal. So basically, they're like sleeper agents. They live lives, they do their own shit, but when they get activated, they come alive as humanoid sentinels, not 30 feet tall anymore. No. And they are powerful because they are built with some future technology and the work of Mr. Sinister. And that's how you get these two things coming together, because you find out that Mr. Sinister is working for a unnamed man, but we all know it's Bastion. Okay, if you read the X-Men comic books, you know who the fuck this dude is. Okay, so from here, the X-Men have to go pretty much all out to start fighting this Prime Sentinel. It's the first time they were seeing one. They got to go in, and Bolivar Trask Sentinel is kicking their ass. No bones about it. He is putting a whooping on them, quick, fast, and in a hurry. They are not prepared for this. But something happens that really made me giddy like a little schoolgirl, where Cyclops is down. He's the last man standing. And the Prime Sentinel was giving him the business and giving him the, little villain monologue before he stomps his head in, and a grenade pops into the frame and goes off and disrupts the Sentinel. And sure enough, the man in the shadows, the wild man of Borneo, Cable, shows up to save their ass. And I am so happy. I'm like, yes, my dog, Cable showed up. Right? Now, this is what I like. I've been waiting for Cable to show up for a couple of episodes, right? So I'm fine with that. Him showing up at this point, I'm fine with. But it was actually a really good moment to where two things happen at the same time. Cable tells them how to disrupt these Sentinels. The next thing that happens is Jean reading Cable's mind and figuring out some things, right, about who he actually is. Scott realizes that Cable is his son, Nathan. And Cable confirms it. He calls him Dad. But he also does something else that's really interesting, that he tells Jean Grey, you're not her. He didn't want her in his mind. It's not his mama. Now, to me, that's kind of interesting, because on one way, Jean is giving Cyclops shit because he's still kind of connected with Madeline, right? She's not me, all the rest of that crap, right? Well, for Cable, Cyclops' son, Jean is not Madeline. So he don't want no parts of her. So I think it's kind of interesting in that sense. Like, yeah, you kind of look like her, but you ain't my mama. Right? he know his mama's psychic touch, okay? He knows his mama's psychic touch. He know that ain't her. So for him, Jean is a fake. It's kind of funny. This is kind of funny to me. It's like a family reunion, but people are like, yeah, but So it was kind of interesting. I like seeing Cable and him showing up again onto the show, because they need that kind of badassery around. He does give them a little heads up on what's going on, and you get to see the reveal of Sinister and Bastion colluding together and revealing that they have a line on where Xavier is, and that Xavier is alive in Shi'ar space. And I'm like, damn, they saw it. Ouch. That's some information that they didn't need to have. But the last part of this episode closes out with what's supposed to be a really big reveal, but it's not really a big reveal to me because I think he was dead anyway. And what you get is Bastion revealing that he has Magneto as his prisoner. Inhibitor collar on, and he's been holding him for a while. That is messed up because in one way, I'm trying to see if he's trying to brainwash Magneto or what. I don't think it will work. I think Eric too strong for that. But this is going to be a problem. This has been one of the better episodes in terms of just story with characters. A lot of developments with characters. A lot of developments for this overall story that leads into, I don't know how many episodes they have of this show. I don't think it's 8. But leads you into an understanding that things are ramping up. Even after seeing the Goblin Queen appear, even after seeing a massacre in Genosha, things are still ramping up, and you still like, God dang, you about to cap this? Nope. It's going. So I'm enjoying this show. I really am. That was a good episode to watch. The only thing that fell flat for me was the Captain America showing up. I didn't really care. I cared more about General Ross showing up than Captain America. I didn't think it was necessary, but it does leave a seed to where you could see an AVX situation happening later on. So I'm all for that. So with that, that's it. That's my review of X-Men 97, episode 7, Bright Eyes. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been artisanmc, and I will see you next time. Peace.